Welcome to Becoming Spiritual, a podcast about the magic that surrounds us and has always been a part of us. I'm your host, Heather Dolan, a passionate seeker dedicated to bringing together beautiful humans who are doing amazing things in this world. Together, we will explore healing modalities and practical spiritual practices that can enrich your everyday life. We will also hear stories of awakenings, many from people in the corporate world who have broken out of the spiritual closet. Wherever you are in your journey, know you have found a community of open-hearted individuals committed to making themselves and our world a better place. Welcome home. Today, we have a 2026 year ahead tarot episode for you, where Natalie is going to be pulling some cards and sharing the energies for 2026. It was so fun. The energies are so awesome. It's just palpable. So I am not going to take much time because you all know Natalie. We're going to share all of her information from a tarot perspective. If you haven't listened to our introductory tarot episode that we did, feel free to check that out. But otherwise, we're going to jump in so you can see what energy awaits us all in 2026. And I'm wishing all of you a very happy new year and prosperous, abundant, easeful, loving, all the things 2026 and beyond. So thank you for joining us and listening. And let's find out what the cards want to share with us for this coming year. Welcome to Becoming Spiritual and a new year. By the time you listen to this, it will be 2026. So happy new year, everyone. Really excited, as I mentioned in the intro, to have Natalie giving us a beautiful reading and sharing what the year ahead looks like from a tarot perspective. So she's going to be doing a reading for the collective. So for all of you out there, Natalie, first of all, thank you and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Heather, and Happy New Year to you too and to all the listeners. I'm excited for what's to come and I can't wait to see what energy the cards reveal is going to be coming at us for this new year.
Yeah. And it's fun because Natalie and I did a reading together last week, which was just my personal reading for the year ahead. And so on the heels of that, we're recording now for the collective. And it'll be interesting to see what comes up and how that might relate to kind of what we already talked about. And it's also interesting because, if anyone's watching this online, you'll see I'm in a cozy, warm sweater because in the Northern Hemisphere, we just went through the winter solstice portal and we're still in that portal, as Natalie just reminded me of being in the New Year energy. We have the solstice portals, and then Natalie on the other side of the world is just experienced the summer solstice and was talking about getting a sunburn. So, so it's kind of a fun dichotomy of our weather stories and being in two different energies from a world perspective.
Yeah, we're like the full spectrum of activations here.
Yes. Yeah, we're covering it all. So before we jump into what 2026 is going to look like, and Natalie's going to share her intention with the reading, she's designed a special reading for this. And for those who have followed Natalie and know Natalie over the years, she's done these readings both on her podcast and her Instagram page. And this will be familiar, but also not, because it's a new kind of format that she's doing for everyone. So that way we can kind of stay within the allotted time for the episode. But before we jump in, we thought it would be fun to just talk for a minute about 2025 and the energies and kind of what you shared last year for the energy and how, kind of what transpired before we jump into the new year. So What was the card last year?
So the card last year was the Seven of Swords. And the Seven of Swords, it was reversed. So for me, it's already a minor arcana card, which means it's more of the personal inner journey, inner lessons, inner energies. But given that it was reversed, it was extra personal last year. And so I think it's quite a common reflection I've been reading as 2025 closed about people overcoming a lot of challenge, a lot of setback, things feeling really hard, maybe like taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing. There's a bit of that vibe that happens in this card. So just to explain it for those listening and can't see the card, it is a man who's kind of like either at sort of an old school medieval looking army base or even a circus. We don't quite know. It's a bit of a tent city. And he's carrying some swords. So he's carrying 5 swords with him and there's 2 that remain behind him. and his feet are heading out in front of him one way. He looks like he's walking quite quickly or even, getting into a jog. He's wanting to move quite swiftly, but his head is looking behind him. So it's kind of like when we are moving forward, momentum is pushing us forward, but we've got some stuff holding us back. And because it's swords energy, it's air energy. Swords represents the element of air. And so what's holding us back is on our mind. It's in our thoughts. It's in our distractions, And so I'm someone who, when I do the readings, I go into a bit of a portal. And so often, especially when it's with a client, I can't remember what came up very clearly. I go into a bit of a trance, I guess. So Heather just mentioned before, it will be interesting to see how the cards for the collective correlate with her own personal 2026 year ahead reading, which I won't remember all the cards.
Yeah.
So even this card, like if you're interested in reflecting on the 2025 energy, I do have a reading for this card on my YouTube channel, Crystal Aura Tarot. But looking back, it feels very much about overcoming setbacks, and to the point where, because it's such a personal energy, some of it was even pushing through self-deceptions, because there is a bit of an energy of deception here. We don't quite know why he's running away so quickly and looking behind him. Is he stealing these swords? Is he supposed
He
to be?
looks like he's like just trying to see if he's being followed or like,
Yeah.
kind of like mischievous a little bit is what I get from it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit of a sneaky energy. And so,
Mhm.
especially when it's reversed, we're kind of stuck in that energy. So, it was probably quite a big challenge for a lot of us to overcome whatever we were confronted with, either in regards to setbacks, personal setbacks, especially to do with our own mindset, and then perhaps even deceptions, whether they're from ourselves, the things we do to keep ourselves from moving forward, or the setbacks from the outside world that were creating these inner monologues. So I've pulled this out of the deck so we can't pull it up again. We're going to have a fresh new card for 2026. We just wanted to do a little reflection to see what kind of energy we're moving from. We're moving from this very personal, challenging energy into something new, which is really exciting. So it's an extra huge portal that we're in at the moment. Maybe, Heather, I'm going to throw back to you to talk about like the New Year portal and what it kind of feels like and means to you before we get started.
Yeah. And just to recap, the Seven of Swords was the archetype card. That was kind of the
Yeah.
overarching theme, which I think is I think you hit the nail on the head, or the sword, because certainly I think most people will agree the amount of deception that we've all experienced in all different ways. And I think personal, but collective, I think all of us, that really personal energy, it was such a push to go inward and to not be caught up in the collective swirl and spin, because there was so much going on this past year that all you can do, I think, from a sanity perspective sometimes is to go inwards and say, what can I do? How can I be safe? How can, in all of this crazy, no matter what's going on, what do I need to be safe, to feel whatever it is you need to feel to get through each day? And so, I
just want to butt in. Part of this scene is him leaving the collective. And we can't see what's ahead of him, but he's got his thoughts and his beliefs that he's taking with him, but there's no people with him. So absolutely, like that realization that in order to like find what we understand and what we believe and what we need to reset in our mindset to move forward, we sometimes do have to leave the consensus belief system or narratives or whatever the noise is behind us, or separate ourselves from a bit and go find ourselves and our authentic beliefs and all of that. So that's really a powerful message, Heather.
Yeah, thank you. And I think, all of us, we always think I think Kathleen and I talked about it in the yoga episode of like the analogy of the oxygen mask on the plane. Like we always, I think, are so busy focused on everything outside. And they always tell you oxygen mask on first for you, because otherwise you're no good to anyone else. And I feel like that was this year, at least for me, was realizing sometimes you have to slow down to speed up, but also you need to go inward and find that peace or sometimes it could be that fire that you need for
Mm.
yourself, where you're not getting that from the outside. It's all inside and it's doing that inner work. It just will help serve the collective 100 times more when you are able to emerge a different person, a more centered, loving, kind, gracious person. It's going to help support everybody. So I think at least this year, definitely, everyone knows from if you've listened to other episodes, but, I've been on a journey. So I've spent a lot of time going inwards, but I feel like the message that has come up, and I think what keeps coming up for me for 2026 is that trust that I don't also need to seek outside counsel or help for things, that I know I have everything I need inside. And I
Yeah.
think now building up that trust muscle in 2025, especially, hopefully will help as 2026 comes online, because we're not crossing into, January 1st and everything's like rainbows and butterflies. And I don't think is going to be the case. But at the same time,
Mm.
I think I'm coming in more prepared and more steady, I
Yep.
think would be kind of how I see it. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah, I kept getting the word evolution coming through, and it's a big
Mm.
evolution that we're, like, moving through at the moment. The world's throwing so much at everyone, and it's really hard to know how to navigate through it, but that's the challenge, and that's why we're here. That's why we've incarnated here, to learn what to do, how to learn to kind of connect with our own inner wisdom and our own inner light and our own inner strength to keep pushing forward. So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely feel that's gonna really, I don't wanna say explode, that sounds like violent, but in a good way, like a firework or like a something really powerful, like a flower opening.
I was
That's
gonna
how I
say, I just
see.
got a lotus coming through
Yeah.
the mud and
Yeah.
and I showed Natalie my beautiful little citrine crystal flower I got for Christmas. It's like that
Mm.
energy of, yes, that beautiful flower emerging from this like mud and yuck and, what we
Mm.
think is messy,
Yeah.
coming through and being this beautiful flower. And I feel like that message is coming through of like, what's not working? Like you said, what are you leaving behind?
Yeah.
And saying, like, you know what, maybe it's worked for 10 years or 20 years, or this is what your family expects. It doesn't mean that you have to take it into 2026. It doesn't mean it works anymore or serves you anymore in the new year. And this is the time to be reflecting on those things. Not that, again, no timer for your life started when the clock struck midnight on the new year. But I do think as we spend time and traditionally look at what are we going to change and bring into this new energy, that's something that feels really important.
Mm. Yeah, I'm sure many people listening can relate to what you just shared, Heather, and what kept coming up for me was finding deeper meaning. You know, it's okay for us to change. Like I just talked about before, the evolution's really powerful here. And we're here to evolve. We're here to like create new traditions. We're here to push boundaries. We're here to create and find deeper meaning. And like it sounds like that's a big reason for you to make those changes, because there's a deeper meaning to be found. And I think that rings true for all of us. And
Mhm.
that's important to note. Like the cards that come up, I'm going to be pulling 3 cards today. The first is the archetypal card. And just to explain that, that's like the overarching energy for the year that everyone's going to feel. It's kind of like a symbol for the year. And then I'm going to be pulling a card to help us understand and prepare for the inner journey that we're going to be taking in 2026, a more personal journey. And then another card for the outer journey. So the bigger universal themes. What's the world going to be going through? What's the world going to be challenged with? What energies are going to be coming through for the full collective that everyone's going to see and know? These cards are going to carry us through the whole year, 12 months. And like we just talked about, we go through changes and we evolve. So the meaning in these cards themselves is going to be unraveling with every month that we go forward, which is always exciting when I'm doing these year ahead readings.
And we're leaving the snake energy in 2025, the shedding, a lot of
Yeah.
letting go. Not that we're not going to still be doing that. We were also both talking about all the purging we've been doing
Yes.
in the last couple of weeks. Natalie's more physical, mine more
Yep.
in the home, but a lot of purging and shedding, I think, as we run up to the year of the white horse. So
Mm.
that's this forward momentum.
Oh, so much pure momentum as well,
Mhm. Yes.
with one of our most amazing animal warriors. It's
Yeah.
such power and strength. Yeah.
Yep.
Super exciting. Should we get started?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. So I've spent some time before we got on this call warming my deck up, calling in all of the highest intentions for 2026 for the collective, inviting all of our wonderful mystical spirit guides to join us. And so they're all here to help with this reading and sharing this message. So I'm just going to do a little bit more shuffling. And if you've been annoyed by any kind of noise in the background while Heather's been talking, it's just been me
Right.
shuffling.
Yeah. It's good to be warm. See what cards want to present themselves.
Yeah. Okay. So let's reveal the archetypal energy for 2026 for the collective of Then Becoming Spiritual podcast and beyond. Okay. Mm. Okay. So for those listening, I've just cut the deck. Sometimes cards jump out being like, I'm here, you can't
Yep.
miss me. Other times they're hidden and you've got to go find them. So for our archetypal energy, I've cut the deck and a card has been revealed. And then for our inner journey, it's the bottom card. And for the outer journey is the top card. So here we go. Let's first talk about the 2026 archetypal energy.
Oh,
It's the Wheel of Fortune reversed. So this is wild. Often we will be talking about stuff and the tarot will give it to us. And we've been talking about change and evolution. And I mean, evolution, revolution. We've got a wheel here that's turning, like it's big. We've got all our guides with us. So let's describe the Wheel of Fortune card before we start talking about it. And this is a very, very, very powerful energy of change for 2026, for opportunity, for personal evolution, for the world, like making some huge changes as well. So what we can see here, it's a very mystical card. We have a wheel in the very center, a big circle, and it's filled with symbols. There are alchemical symbols, there are elemental symbols, there are Hebrew letters. There's lots of different symbols. So this is a deeply symbolic year that we're heading into. It's going to affect us on many levels, not just the physical, material, obvious stuff. This goes very deep. And below the wheel, we have this like demonic looking character who is Anubis. Anubis is an Egyptian god who basically is the guardian of the afterworld. And then at the top of the wheel, we have a sphinx with a sword, a very powerful guardian for our spiritual journey, our ascension, our evolution, sitting at the top of this wheel. And we've also got a snake, like a serpent on the other side, on the left. So the energy of the past that we're leaving, you can see it that is one way that Heather just
okay.
discussed. The serpent's an interesting symbol, animal symbol, because the serpent, he's on his descent in this card. You can see he's heading downward. The serpent is very closely linked with the inner world as much as the outer world, because the serpent can travel above and below the ground, but is constantly like the belly to the earth, The serpent goes through that shedding process of change and transformation. So there's lots of really powerful symbols surrounding this wheel. And then in the four corners, we've got these four characters in the clouds, four mystical characters. They're all kind of looking at these open books. And the way I love to see that is that they're basically our spirit team in all their different forms and incarnations, covering four corners of the globe, like all the four corners of our reality, looking down on us, ready to witness us as we make our choices. And so that's why their books are open. It's kind of like they're the record keepers in the Akashic records, watching us, willing us on, and recording our story. But right now, the book's blank. So we are the authors of our story, and they're there to witness and record us and encourage us and all of those beautiful things. So it's reversed. So what does this mean? Well, it's not that we're going to get the opposite of this energy this year. Absolutely not. This energy is here. are we open to it? That's the question. Are we open to change? Are we open to opportunity? This card's really exciting because it's not so much about luck, although that can play a part of it. Because often when we start saying yes to things and we start taking on opportunities that arrive for us, we start to feel lucky. We start to receive more and it feels really good and we start to describe ourselves as lucky. So that is a part of it. But it's also that it's more of a wheel, the wheel of time, the wheel of fortune, the wheel of change, all of these things. It's always moving. And if it's stopped, like it might feel like when it's reversed, it might feel a bit stuck, like how some people stop the turning of a wheel by wedging something underneath it.
Mhm.
We have to take that wedge out to get it back moving. So it might be that we're closed to change and closed to opportunities that are coming full force at us. This is a major arcana card. So this is huge, powerful, universal energy. It's not us creating the change this year. The world is forcing it upon us. But how responsive are we to this? How willing are we to respond to the world giving us that energy? And how much are we taking on opportunities? So a way that I really love to see this, that's kind of more of the fortune than the time, but with every second of every day, we have the opportunity to change something in our lives with every decision we make. It might just be we get to change our body chemistry for a moment because we choose to go outside and soak up some sunshine instead of staying indoors. And that change changes everything from that moment forward. Versus a huge change. We can change our mind about something that impacts our whole life and every moment beyond that in a huge way, in a huge obvious way. So in every single moment, this wheel is turning and providing us an opportunity to choose something and take action. Sometimes it isn't the time to take action, and that might be why it's reversed for some of us, because we have to feel ready. But the challenge this year is to turn it upright. So we have to unblock ourselves from what might be keeping us from making the change. Is this because we're not feeling ready or prepared? Is it because we're overwhelmed because there's so much change happening and so many opportunities popping up constantly? We don't know what to do and we're just closing ourselves off because that feels safer. At some point, we have to turn this upright this year. And so this is our challenge. Hugely powerful energy. A lot of change on the horizon if we're open to it. And I think part of change is confronting fear. So that's a very powerful thing. What are we afraid of here? What are we holding ourselves back from by keeping us closed off to the wheel of potential and opportunity that never, ever stops? We just get to decide when we want to jump on and take it. It's okay. That's the other thing I want to say. It's okay to let the wheel spin like 2 notches because you can see something better, waiting for you. That's okay. That's what we want. So it's an awareness really of the constant opportunities presented to us and really feeling into what's in alignment for us, whether that's what's best for us or good for us or what we desire. Sometimes we're always choosing what's best for us, but we're actually ignoring our own desires because we could have better or we can have different. We can have exciting instead of safe, all of these amazing things. Sometimes we need to choose safe instead of exciting because that actually is the best that we should be choosing for ourselves. So it's different for everyone. This is some tools and some guidance for us to take into, to feel prepared to take into the new year and the year ahead. So I'm going to pop that there. Heather, I'd love to hear your reflections on that card, the Wheel of Fortune reverse for 2026.
Yeah, it's interesting. What came to me is, in another community that I spend time on, there's been so much talk about the end of what's called the Kali Yuga and this massive cycle. And we're basically starting 2026 almost like a blank page. We have a blank slate of it's the beginning and starting of a whole new cycle on so many different levels from a spiritual, energetic perspective, astrological perspective. So just I feel to me like this Wheel of Fortune is the word that keeps coming to me is possibility. Is this thinking about the game show Wheel of Fortune, which is so tacky, and that was a US
We've got it too.
Oh, you do? Okay. Silly show. And it's you could spin the wheel and 1 minute you could have, the $50,000 prize tag and the next minute you were bankrupt and you lost everything. And it was just spinning that wheel and there was excitement because it was oh my gosh, I could get this.
Yeah.
You might get the other thing, but then you always had another spin again. but I feel like it's this ability that we have options, that it is this blank slate of like, what do we want to create in this new year?
Yeah, absolutely. That feels really exciting to me, that whole idea that we're sitting there and we get to turn the wheel, because that is what our lives are. Sometimes we feel
Right.
like the world turns us, but like, no, we're turning the world, you know? Scientifically, people might have a problem with what I just said, but you know what I mean? Like we are the
Yeah.
architects, we are the authors of our books, our blank page, that the slate's been wiped clean and we're ready to like start something new and fresh and exciting. And it begins with the turn of that wheel. And I think that's really powerful though. Sometimes this is the other thing, like if you see the Wheel of Fortune reversed, you can feel like that's bad luck, but I don't see it that way. I see it as us holding ourselves back from realizing the opportunity and possibility in front of us. And, you know, like you said, you might get the 0 on the Wheel of Fortune on your first spin, but you get to spin again and it's not going to
Mhm.
stop. So don't feel like because you've missed one opportunity that you might not have felt brave enough to jump on when it arrived, that you're not going to have something else come up for you, something better. And when we're feeling afraid as well, like this is a great card to remind us that all our guides are with us. We are
Yeah.
supported. The universe is here to support us. Our spirit team's here to support us. Like everyone's in four corners watching, cheering us on. And one of the most beautiful things that one of my spiritual mentors ever told me that was so profound was that all of our guides in the spirit realm who are here witnessing us every moment of our lives, all they want is for us to try. That's all they care about. They don't care about success. They don't care about the score we get or how well we do something. Like all they are willing us to do is try. And as soon as we try, they're like, yes, she did it. Oh
Mhm.
my God, this is amazing, you know?
Yep.
So this represents as well. Like some of the stuff that might be presented as a possibility or opportunity, we might not even succeed at. But just having a go means everything because you've unlocked something within yourself. You've gone through some kind of fear barrier or portal, and your spirit team's just like, yes, now we can write that in the book. You
Yep.
know,
I
that's a new
I'm so glad
chapter.
you said that because I was feeling that too. I was gonna say it's something pretty similar. Is just the seeing that four corners is it's covering everything. Like the four
Mm,
corners is everything. Like
yes.
basically it's showing no matter which way you go, no matter which way you turn, there's always support. There's
Yeah.
always support, there's always guidance. And I think that's a really important message of just knowing that we're never alone. We're not here doing this alone. You have
Mm,
lots of people that you can call on for
yeah.
support. And I don't mean in the physical, like, because lots of people might not. They might feel very alone and not have family or close friends and might be feeling very alone. But from a
Yeah.
spiritual perspective, you have all these guides. Everyone has a guardian angel. Everyone has a lot have multiples that you can call on, and they can't help you without you asking for the help and support. But then you have to be open to how it shows up. You can't say
Mm,
like, I need $1 million, drop from the sky right now. It doesn't work that way.
yeah.
Even though I did hear a crazy story about something like that happening. But so anyway, I really love that it's just no matter where that wheel goes, there's a guardian there at every spin covering the wheel. Like you've got that support no matter where you land. If you land on the 0 and the
Mm,
bankrupt, or you land on the $50,000 spin.
yeah. Yeah,
So
totally. It's such powerful energy. I can't even describe to have this car come up for like a year ahead, like, wow, this is big stuff. This is big stuff where and it's stuff to be
yay.
excited about. There's nothing negative on this card. It's just like reflecting back to us our power, the power in our own choices, the
Mm.
power in our own creation. And sometimes we can feel like we're not empowered, that we're not creating our reality, but like all we have to do is step outside, you know? Um, we created like ourselves to be here in this world. And what has been created for us to experience is just magical. So, you know, the guardians, these spirit guardians in each corner of this card. There's like an angel, there's like a bird, there's a lion, and they're all angelic. They all have wings, and there's a bull. And so we know those. They're very significant symbols in astrology, for instance. They all represent the fixed signs in astrology, but also they kind of all part of our animal realm.
Yeah.
And if we are forgetting the magic of creation, and the guides we have, all we have to do is step outside. Every single creature was created for us to enjoy. We are here to live amongst all this magic, and it's amazing. And like, we created ourselves to be here amongst it, and that's very powerful, and that's who we are. And we can never forget that, even when we feel afraid and this wheel's turning and it might be feeling like it's spinning too fast, or it might be feeling like it's stuck. We might be the ones slowing it down, or we might be stuck in it, and it's time for us to work harder to create new opportunities for ourselves. Like, take a time out and just be in the presence. We talk about being present in nature a lot, Heather. It's one of the fastest ways to be reminded of your own magic, without a doubt.
Yep. It's interesting you say that, because the other day I went out walking right after Christmas, and I spent so much time watching the birds. They just were flying around. They were gathering in trees, and just was mesmerized. And I'm like, do they know that there's bad weather coming? Are they all gathering to figure out a plan? Are they, like, what are they doing? And it is amazing how we can get lost in that and then appreciate and think like they weren't dealing with Christmas nonsense. They're living everyday life of like, I'm flying up here. I have this bigger perspective. I'm gathering in community, and then sometimes flying solo, sometimes
Yeah.
flying in specific formation that like is so hard to fathom watching them, that they just instinctually know how to do these things. So it's fun that you mentioned that.
And everything has magic. We don't even know the half of it. I read a story about, you'd think moths are stupid. Like, they get trapped because they follow the light, but like, oh my gosh, they just are guided by the brightest light that they can find. And it makes complete sense to me now, because what I read was that scientists had found that there was a specific moth from Australia, actually, that I didn't even know. This is part of the magic as well, the way we can figure out things about biology and like our brains and all this crazy stuff, even about other species. But this moth, they'd proven, I think it was the only animal, perhaps outside of us, who had mapped the stars and remember the star map and use it to navigate. And the celestial light is absolutely the highest, brightest light. And that's what they're seeking constantly. And our silly lights we have in our house distract them from being
From
in
the
the
actual
light.
stars. Yeah.
Yeah. So even a moth holds that magic and that power and that potential. And like, just always anchor back into that energy if you feel disempowered in any way, because it's mind-blowing to realize that, and then realize you're here. We're here amongst it. It's amazing. And I'm glad I'm feeling into that energy, because the Wheel of Fortune energy can be a bit overwhelming. So what we're leaning into is the absolute magic of potential and of creation. It's great. Should we move on to another card?
Yes. Like I said, bring in all the magic. We're calling all the magic in. So this is a good start. Okay. We're doing inner journey.
We're going to do,
outer?
inner journey.
Okay.
And that was this card. Okay. This is incredible. Okay. I always have to preface my readings. I'm very expressive when I read tarot, and usually when I pull
As
a card,
you should be.
it doesn't matter what card, I'll make a face. And like, sometimes I'm just scoffing because I'm like, it's so literal. Sometimes it can be so literal. So this is the Four of Cups that came up, and it was reversed, but I'll talk through that in a second. The Four of Cups for the inward journey for this year is incredibly reflective and quite emotional, but in a reflective way, not an overly emotional outburst, spilling out kind of way. No, it's actually quite calm and resolute and reflective. And so what we see in this card is one man on his own. He's sitting atop a hill, and you can see some very tall, icy, sharp-looking mountains in the background. So he's kind of elevated up here on this hill, and he is sitting at the base of a tree. So if we know anything about symbols, trees symbolize wisdom. So he's literally at the base of wisdom. He's seeking wisdom here, and he's in so many ways, because he's actually gone up this hill. What we do when we climb a hill, when we overcome a small challenge, it's not a giant mountain, but it is a small challenge, and we gain a higher perspective. So whether he's aware of this or not, whether it's conscious or subconscious, he has sought out this higher perspective of wisdom, and he's rooted himself sitting cross-legged and cross-armed at the base of this tree on this grassy, green, lovely hill with a blue sky behind him. And what lies in front of him is 3 cups, and he seems quite focused on those 3 cups, sort of like in this pensive reflection. And then from the sky, kind of like an ace, if you're familiar with the tarot, the ace cards have this hand coming out of nowhere, out of the heavens, almost from another realm or dimension, gifting something. And so there's a fourth cup that's being gifted to him at his eye level in the air, but he's not even aware of it because he's so transfixed. He's so focused on these three cups in front of him. And so cups correspond with the element of water, which represents and symbolizes emotion, feeling, love, dreaming, psychicness. And water is really soft, feminine flow. It is creativity. It's lots of different things, but generally it's like it's speaking to our emotions. And so that's very resonant and pertinent when we're talking about the inward journey for this year, that it's going to be extremely reflective. It's going to be us seeking out wisdom, and it's going to be us needing to find higher perspective. And it's very interesting that it's reversed because, again, I feel like we're going to be challenged with finding that in our own way. The treasure map to this wisdom is not going to be given to us. We have to actually figure it out for ourselves. So this year is going to be a journey of reflecting on our emotions, on feeling into our needs, our desires, feeling into all those opportunities. So while the wheel of fortune can be spinning very quickly, it's okay for us to take our time and do what we need to do to make a decision. You know, this guy has three cups in front of him. He might be weighing them all up and feeling into what each of these cups feels like for him. But then he's also got this gift from the universe with this brand new opportunity, this brand new option, this brand new potential, whatever it might be. And we want to be open to that. So this feels like very closed because not only even in an upright position does this character in this card have the body language of someone who's very closed off to the point where he's not even seeing the cup in front of him. He's that closed. But then we're dealing with not only that, but it's reversed. So there's an extra layer of being closed off, right? I think it's very related to the opportunities of the Wheel of Fortune. So we're not actually closed off to this reflective process. Some of us might be, but I don't think that's like common to everyone. I actually think we're being closed off to the opportunities, and it's a process we need to go through to feel into what's in alignment with us and to really be seeking out the highest wisdom, the highest potential, the highest perspective in the choices we're making. So does this serve me feeling in alignment with what I truly desire and what I truly want and what I'm truly here to do? But also, does this help me gain the wisdom I'm seeking? Does this give me a new perspective on who I am and where I fit in the world? Because there's no other people in this card. It's about us. It's about you and me, and like I just want a bit more. There's so much challenge we've overcome too. This huge icy mountain in the background really does represent 2025 for me. We've overcome a lot collectively and personally, and now our personal journeys, we can take the time to like think about what's in front of us, what's ahead of us, what potentials we have with the choices that are in front of us. And I don't want to say this is weighing up because there's other cards that are about intellectually weighing things up. This is much more about feeling into. We're feeling into things this year. And we're learning, this is part of the wisdom actually, we're learning, and maybe it's reversed because not all of us have unlocked this yet very well, but we're learning to feel into our wisdom, to connect in that way rather than overthink, rather than overplan, rather than over strategize. We're getting out of our heads, and this is important because it's a very meditative vibe here. Even though this guy has some closed off energy, it's also you sit cross-legged often to meditate, you know?
Yeah.
You might sit under a tree in nature somewhere very calm and peaceful to find that clarity. So it's very much about a calm quietness. Kathleen talked about this on our last episode, that meditation is silence, like it's listening, it's creating the space to hear. And I feel like with this card, when it's reversed, the moment that you realize the gift in front of you, that you've moved beyond the obvious 3 cups in front, and you're starting to see this like this new opportunity that might not be fully realized yet. It might still be in your dream. It might still be manifesting, but
Yeah.
it's arriving. The universe is giving it to you. The moment we realize that and we've created the space to actually allow that to come in, we've turned this card upright and we've realized the power of the potential of this card, which is really that stillness. And 4, let's speak to the 4 in this card as well. 4 is a foundational and structural number. So I've just told everyone not to over strategize and overthink. It's not about that though. It's about anyone who practices meditation or prioritizes finding stillness will know how important a foundation that is for their own sanity, for their own emotional regulation, for their own clarity and in making decisions and not being overly reactive. This stillness is a very important foundation for being able to hear your wisdom and choose wisely for you, and recognizing when you're in alignment rather than being distracted by constant noise around you. So there's a real energy of stillness, of presence, of reflection, of seeking, of feeling into wisdom when it comes to the choices we're making when that wheel is turning.
Hmm.
Heather, over to you.
Yeah, just what came to me is as you were talking about the icy mountains in the back being 2025.
Mm.
It's kind of the work we were talking about at the top of the episode that I shared of what 2025 was building that resilience, building these muscles almost of whether that's meditation or other practices to trust that we have the answers inside. And so he's
Mm.
not looking outside of himself. He's sitting there like looking at these cups of the, okay, let me be reflective. Let me think of, okay, here are kind of my 3, maybe it's like 3 paths, 3 choices, like you said. And I'm okay, let me go inward. Let me really tune into my own wisdom, like you said.
Mm.
And then when we do that, that's when the universe just provides. And I feel like that's the surprise. That's the magic is like, oh, here's this cloud with a hand thing, pop in another cup of like, wait, but there's also this too that maybe, when you're open to possibilities and you're doing that introspective work, it's the universe might present, which is exactly what I was just saying, like, don't be focused on this is the only answer, because
Yeah.
then you might miss what the universe actually has in store for you. And so you can't have that expectation of how that's going to appear or come to you. And so for
Mm.
me, with that, with him sitting there, it's like he's built up this practice to be able to go to them, to know where to go, to be in nature, to get that wisdom, knowing he can find these answers. He's just spending that time with himself, which I think is really powerful from last year's perspective. But then thinking about this is the inner journey card in 2026.
Mm.
I don't know. That feels so good.
Yeah, another thing I want to say is like that the universe is going to be gifting us a new way of feeling that we haven't even imagined yet. And that might be why he's not recognizing it. Like he can't even see it because this is a brand new way of feeling,
Wasn't a possibility before and is reality. Yeah.
Exactly. And it might not have been anything you even imagined or have been open to. So I think this is a really powerful also invitation to become more open. And the best way to open is through that stillness. And when we say meditation, we can take these cards literally, and tarot can be fantastic for giving practical guidance in that way. A lot of times in readings with people, I actually do have practical guidance come through, and the cards are literally sometimes saying, go do what the card says you should do. Go sit at the base of a tree and feel into the deep wisdom. But we don't have to do it literally. So if that stillness doesn't resonate with you because you find the grass irritating and you're like hypersensory or,
Bugs.
whatever, you get cold easily or hot easily, the stillness might be meditating in a very quiet space in your house or in your car, somewhere else, find that place of stillness for you because that's what you're needing. You don't need to take everything here literally, but the message and the energy as well is resonant here. All right.
Oh, that was so good. Okay, now I'm really excited.
Yeah, good.
Whew.
And so, like I said, this is a collective reading, but this is some guidance to help us personally work through the challenges that are coming at us from this big energy, like the universal archetypal energy and also the outer energy that's about to be revealed. All right, so let's go for it. Oh, Heather, you're familiar. I do remember this card with you because it's a bit of an enigma, this card.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is. It's the 7 of Cups. So we've got some
Was
more
it
cup
reversed too?
energy. It was reversed. Every card's reversed here. So we've got
Which
some work to do
almost
this
my
year.
whole reading, all the cards were reversed,
Yeah,
which
I
is so
promise you
interesting.
guys, I'm shuffling this deck.
Yeah.
I don't do that thing where I turn all the cards upright again after I do it. Some tarot readers do that. After every deck, they reset by turning everything upright. That's not
Mm.
me.
But I
This
was
is
just gonna
random.
say it's interesting because last year it was like a mix. And this
Mm,
year, I mean, not all of them were reversed, but it just feels like a message, like a powerful message of, okay, we're not sitting on our laurels, not doing anything, like there's no work to do. That doesn't mean hustle. That doesn't mean efforting.
yeah.
It could just be something simple of like meditating, thinking, being introspective. And so I say that in that I think 2026 is going to be a year of movement, which is the horse too. It's
Yeah.
forward momentum. It's moving us and carrying us. It can carry us. It can be there to support us. And that's the year we're going into. And so there's easy ways that you can flip these cards around.
Mm.
It doesn't mean that it's like you have to kill yourself to do it.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is, I feel we've well and truly moved beyond COVID times now, pandemic times, because when the pandemic was happening, there was a lot of upright energy because it was like undeniably happening to us. Like there's nothing we could do to get out of that situation.
Yeah.
You got to go through it. This reversal energy, I think it's a huge invitation to us to take action.
Mm.
The
Yeah.
world's not happening to us anymore. We are
Yep.
100% the creators. And we should feel empowered to move beyond that. I think perhaps we all got a bit used to it, perhaps a little bit lazy, a little bit complacent, a little bit, oh, my job here is to complain about all the things that happen to me or that happen in the world, but I don't have to do anything. Doing something doesn't mean activism. It means taking action in your own life in the ways
Yeah.
that are in control.
Apathy, like having some apathy
Yes,
for, yeah.
exactly. So I
Um,
really feel this energy of moving beyond that apathy into power. But the power comes through us realizing, oh, we're the ones who need to take action here. And this is that energy of the reversals. What do I have to do to realize the full potential of this card in its upright position versus this blocked off, closed energy that we're in at the moment, where it's requiring us to unlock it, like where we are the key, you know?
mhm.
Okay, so the outer energy, this is super interesting because it's very related to the Wheel of Fortune because we're talking about the Wheel of Fortune as the wheel of potential and opportunity, constantly turning and moving for us. That horse energy of the momentum, wheels are all about momentum. They work with the physics of momentum, you know. And the 7 of Cups, so we're familiar now with the Cups energy. It really is, I don't think there's much, it's not about emotions in this card. It's not about love and relationships. It's about feelings and all the different feelings. So to describe this card to you, there's 7 cups here and there, again in the clouds. And so actually, you know what I'm seeing? This inner journey card where we've got that one single cup that is coming from the universe as a gift. This is almost like the precursor of that. And the outer energy is kind of like the universe. I'm feeling it as the universe saying, look at all the possibilities. And so by the time it arrives as that single cup for us in the 4 of Cups, even though this is a 7, so it's further along the cups journey, but the outer world, it can go both ways. We can decide something on our inner journey and then it appears, it manifests physically on the outer. It can also be swimming around us in the outer. And when we make the decision, we all of a sudden magically make it, you know, physical in our own personal world. So it can go both ways. But so this card has 7 cups. There's 2 rows of them. In the upper row, there's 3 cups. And in the bottom row, there's 4 cups. And they're kind of in this big cloud that seems to be moving in like the foreground, like across the card here. And in the most foreground of this card, we have this maestro character, this orchestrator, this architect, this wizard, He's not wearing a wizard's hat, but he looks more like a conductor. That's what I want to call him, a
conductor.
conductor.
I see him more as a female.
Or a female. There are a lot of
See
characters
female.
in the tarot.
I don't know if that is or not, but I don't know. To me, it almost looks like a bun, like a hair.
Yeah.
Maybe yeah. So it's interesting
It
because
can
I
be
see this
either.
feminine energy. Yeah.
And I think when we can't see the actual person in these cards, it's on purpose because it doesn't matter. It's almost like a genderless or sexless energy that's like beyond us. And
got it.
this is
I'm
a
reading
shadow.
into that.
Yeah, this is a completely shadowy figure. We can't see, it's a silhouette. We can't see any characteristic of this person, of this conductor. So it's kind of like the shadowy figures in the alternate dimensions, in the other realms, whipping up the stuff, whipping up the opportunities, whipping up the potential. Because in each of these cups, there's a completely different item. We have in the top row a serpent in a cup. There's kind of like this faceless veil in the middle that's a void, a portal almost. I'm sure there's many interpretations of that particular symbol. Another one up top is kind of like a person, an earthly person or an angelic person. We don't see a halo, so it's someone, but they're also a bit shadowy. And then on the bottom, we've got a tower, kind of like the Tower in the Tower card. We have treasure, we have jewels, glowing jewels. We have a laurel wreath of achievement in one. And then we have a dragon, a very powerful dragon energy of activation in another cup. So there's all of these possibilities. There's all of these options in front of us. And you see this faceless figure kind of whipping them all up, creating them. Sometimes that's us. We are that person. We are the creator. We are always the creator. But sometimes we're aware that that's us creating and we've created all these options like, oh, now I get to choose, right? Other times it's the universe. It's the universe doing that. The universe has heard or felt our yearning, our desire for something. And the universe comes to us being like, hey, I got you. Now pick which one of these is what you're seeking. And so we've got 7 options in front of us here. And yes, this is blocked. So again, I think there's a huge opening happening this year, opening to potential, opening to possibility, opening to seeing all the choices we have in front of us. Perhaps it is the guidance that we need from the 4 of Cups that we're seeking, that aligned wisdom that helps us choose which of these 7 options we want. Maybe it is we're already aware that these 7 options are in front of us and we need to sit in that stillness to understand which is the best one for us. And then we can go and stop the wheel and be like, that's mine, let's go, let's move. This card always kind of is a bit dumbfounding for me just because there's so many choices and none of them are the obvious one. And it's really showing us again about the feeling, because yes, we can imagine there's an idea of what these all will give us as gifts. You know, that you pick the cup on the bottom left, you're going to have a tower moment. And sometimes that's exactly what we need. And it doesn't sound as good as winning the lottery and getting the treasure next to it. But perhaps that's actually better for us. We don't quite know. It's not uncommon for people to blow up their whole lives in order to create something new rather than just take the easy path. And it might be the funnest adventure you've ever been on or the biggest learning experience of your life. And we haven't got the Tower card. The Tower card hasn't come up. So I'm not saying that's what's going to happen for everyone, but that's just as valuable an option here as the Wreath of Achievement or the Cup of Jewels, the treasure. We might want to go into the unknown. That might be exactly what we're needing and seeking. It might be terrifying, and moving through that fear is what turns all of our cards upright because we've chosen to go through that portal. If it's the serpent, a bit more inner journeying and more shedding and more transformation. But what comes with that is the realization of that fresh new version of us that's ready to go back out into the world. And then we've got some transformation energy, some powerful activation, fire activation in the dragon. There's a very unique wisdom that comes from that dragon energy. Heather, I know you work with the dragon energy, so I'm interested to hear your thoughts about that in a second, especially because you're familiar with this card because it did come up in your reading, right?
Mm-hmm. It did.
And then we've got the person. There might just be a choosing of self, whatever that means, or another person. So it's It's a very interesting card. Each option in my mind is completely equal, and we can either choose to be the creator of these options or the receiver or both. We might be really happy with the universe creating these for us, and we like being in the role of receiving, and we make the absolute most of what we're choosing and receiving, and that's how we get to turn the card upright. Or we might be so bamboozled with our options that we have to actually be much more active and be the role of the conductor. So it's not just good enough to create all these options. We actually have to choose something and pick it and go work with it. And it's much more of an active role that is required to turn this card upright. But yeah, there's all I see is options here. It's crazy. And like coming back to that inner journey, it's why are we given all these options and opportunities? It's to feel. We are sensory beings. And so we think of feeling about our feelings. What are our emotions? What are we feeling in our heart? That feeling is so multifaceted and multifunctional. It's all of our senses and beyond, our five senses and beyond. And that's why we're in these bodies. That's what we've come here to experience, is to feel in every aspect all of the potential and the glory and the failure and the change and transformation and the power and everything else that's represented in this card we've come here to do. And it's your choice this year. The universe is here presenting you with all these options. And what are you choosing and how do you want to feel? How are you going to feel in all the different ways? So this year feels incredibly powerful. It's an opening portal. We are here to open. We are here to unlock. And it feels delicious, actually, from that multi-sensory perspective.
Sure.
Our sight, our taste, our hearing, our smell. What am I missing? Our touch. And then our extra, I call them ultra senses. Like, all of our clear senses, all of our psychicness, like it can all be activated this year because we're here to feel. This is what I'm getting. Okay, Heather, what do you think about that card?
I just, what came to me is just, it's like I see all of those. You've got this conductor, they're all up on the clouds. It's like, what are you bringing down into your reality? Like
Yes.
all of these things are around us. It's like a buffet. It's like a buffet of choice
Yep.
of just like when you're spinning the wheel, there's all this possibility. So it's all of these possibilities are there. It's in the ether, ready
Mm.
for us. And I also think for the year, thinking about this as a card for the year with the outer journey, you might try each one of these things on. So it might be you experience that abundance, but then is it really what you want? Is it giving you that magic? Is it giving you what it is you feel you're here for? Because sometimes you get to that point where you feel like very secure with these things. And it's, how many times do we hear people who attain significant wealth and they're like, it's so empty. Like
Mm.
there's nothing there for me. It's not what I thought it was going to be. So it's almost like I see it as like trying on these different
Mm.
cups of like, okay, if I try that, maybe you've done the work with the snake, the shedding, or maybe you haven't, and you're still going through that energy where you need to let go. You need to, move through that with, whether it's the dragon energy or the achievement of like other type of achievement. What is that doing for you? Is that giving you what you want? So it's almost like being able to try on these different things. Like I see dragon as very powerful wisdom, healing. I feel like they can represent so many things, strength, fire, energy. Yeah. And really standing in your power. And
Mm.
what does that feel like? Maybe it's boundaries. That feels right. So I think it's like, it's literally looking up and like, okay, I'm going to try this one on for a size and bringing it down into our reality and saying, okay, how does this make me feel? What am I going to work with? Like taking some time to really work with whatever that energy is. And then there's choice. I mean, there's all these other ones where it's like, okay, maybe I did some work with this. I'm going to pop that back up there and it's time for the next one. Or maybe I need to sit a little while longer and integrate before I bring in a new energy. But it's having this, I feel like this abundance of choice is what I come
Mm.
to. If it's not just we have one thing that we could be looking outwardly for. It's
Yeah. And I feel like opening to the new feeling is really important, as we talked
Mhm.
about. with
Yeah.
the Four of Cups inner journey. But I agree with you. It's kind of coming back to that Wheel of Fortune that we talked about, like spin
Mm.
again, spin the wheel
Mhm.
again, try
Yep.
on something new. How does that feel for you? Does it feel good? Does it feel aligned? Does it light you up? Does it feel safe? Whatever it is you're seeking, like, does it give you that feeling? Does it feel new? All of these things. They're very, very powerful cards this year. One more thing that I want to say, because I can see all these cups pointing downward and also this wheel stopped. We talked about that vibe of apathy that came to us and that many of us sort of fell into, perhaps some of us actively adopted and enjoyed for a bit when it came to the pandemic and the energy of that the world was happening to us. And a lot of us felt incredibly disempowered and halted for a little while. If you're still feeling that energy that like the life hasn't really started moving again, like that's your challenge to get this wheel moving, get it moving with the momentum of the universe, get back to that. But looking at these cups pointing towards me, there's a lot of drained energy there. So something that we can see when cups reverse, anything that cup's going to fall out, right? So it's like an energy drain. And I think this is the other part of the apathy that came with the pandemic, is that we started to allow the system to suck our feeling out of us. And some of us might still be in that mode where all of our feeling is given to whatever we're told to be outraged by, upset by, angry about. And we've lost our ability to feel for ourselves. You talking at the very beginning of this episode about like rediscovering the deeper meaning, like the really deep, profound meaning in things, right? In experiences, in our traditions, whatever it might be. There's a real time for discovering that again, because we've just gone along with what we've been told. And some people can get into really yucky kind of descriptions of this, of like the matrix, like draining our life force. And I don't want to talk about it in that way, because we always have a choice. But sometimes we're not aware when we're overly hooked up to that system and we're allowing our feelings to be kind of stolen from us or misused in some way. And we always have to come back to the fact that it's our choice in how we use our feelings. And so if we are finding that so much of our energy feels projected out into the ether, into the universe, screaming at the clouds about how unfair the world is, whether it's to do with stuff as heinous as wars, as suffering, like there's lots of suffering. There's lots of people going through hardship at the moment with the economy. And it's really easy just to complain constantly about politics and politicians and the decisions they're making. It's really coming back to within and turning our cups out, right? Because when we're in that mode, all of our feelings are leaving us and they are used by others. We want to call them back in and keep them for ourselves, not in a selfish way. Like we talked about at the beginning of the episode, Heather, you mentioned like putting on the oxygen mask on the plane for you and making sure you can breathe before you're able to help others breathe, because you're no good to anyone if you can't, if your breath is gone, that's it. I really do want to say, like, for some of us, these messages are actually going to be about returning our feelings to ourselves and getting over feeling selfish or helpless or whatever, like you're not doing enough. It's not about that. You can still care deeply for all the things that are happening in the world, but not allow all of your feelings to be drained out into something that is completely beyond your control.
Well, not moving into victim, like being a victim of like we're a victim of our life, our circumstance, or
Yeah.
whatever it might be. Like that's a choice. That is a choice.
Yeah. And I really don't want to sound callous in saying that. Kathleen said it beautifully in our last episode about how coming back to love in the simplest moments in everyday life has the power to change your reality and ultimately the world. And it can sound very trite, but when you actually practice it, it's really true, because it's like a soothing balm for all the bad stuff that's happening in the world that's constantly bombarding us in the news. If we're in the smallest moments in our lives, doing whatever we can to come from a place of love and having those interactions with people in our own lives, in our own families, in our own communities, it is a soothing balm for the bad stuff that's never going to stop. It just changes form. The narrative changes, but it doesn't stop. So it's a really powerful time to come back to ourselves, to perhaps disconnect a bit from all of those controlling narratives and feel into what we know to be true, what we know to be right, what we know to be soothing and healing and powerful, and reconnecting with our own feelings, not what we're told to feel. I think that's very powerful medicine for this year.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that so much.
Yeah, it's hard to talk
Yeah.
about because I'm quite concerned with saying the wrong thing. So I hope everyone
Yeah.
understood the intention of how I delivered that. But I'm just staring at all these cards with all these opportunities for ourselves to grow and evolve, falling out. And it starts with our feeling. And the challenge, it's a huge challenge of turning these upright, is really calling ourselves back to ourselves and taking action in our own lives where we can, where we are empowered, where we do have control to do that, because so much is out of our control. But that is the world, that is the wheel of time and of space and of all of those things. So,
That's the work too of coming back to self, is knowing, trusting, believing that we have all the answers. And when I say same thing, like not like choosing to be a victim, of course, people are victims of just absolutely unimaginable things and it's tragic, but you can decide if you want to stay. Of course, you have to process things and move through that. But you do have a choice at some point to say, am I going to stay in this or am I going to make a different choice for myself? And I feel like that's what it feels like this energy is coming in, is this choice. Like we have these powerful choices in front of us, all around us, but it all comes down to going inward first to make that choice of what am I going to choose? What am I going
yeah,
to spend time on? Where am I going to put my energy? Where am I going to not pour that cup out and let it just run dry? Where am I going to fill it up and have this abundance of choices where I can say, you know what, I'm going to try that on for size. There's always another option. There's always something else that will be there waiting. None of
yeah,
these have nothing where there's a lack of anything. It's, if anything, it's the opposite where there's abundance and it's a matter of how are you seeing that? How are you bringing that in? And how are you showing up for it?
yeah. The other thing I want to say is that you spoke about something really powerful and beautiful in coming back to having all that wisdom within us. Sometimes it might feel like we're lacking the wisdom or we don't believe that we have that. We might not have gained the wisdom yet, because what is wisdom? It's knowledge with experience. It's embodied knowledge. And we might actually need to go and develop the wisdom within us by going through one of these experiences, by making one of these choices and following it through, and to see what that feels like and to learn the lessons and all of these things in order to come back to this place of stillness and reflection, to be like, I understand what I learned from that experience. I know what the gift is here, the treasure, like I can take this forward in my life and it's going to serve me as wisdom. So there's a journey to wisdom there's here,
Mhm.
as well as a journey of creating and calling in that wisdom and experiencing it and embodying in it, and then it living within you and you finding the ways to access it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Well, that's the reading for 2026.
I'm excited. I don't know. This feels really hopeful and just energetically, it feels like there's going to be a lot of movement and forward movement, not moving back, not, talking about the pandemic times and those types of things. Like at some point, when do we really put that in the rear view and say, okay, that doesn't have to be part of my reality now, of like, now
Yeah.
what am I really moving into this new chapter, this new cycle? There's just so much new energy coming in with the new year, but also just, like I said, from an astrological perspective. And there's so many people that you can follow online and learn more about this cycle that just ended and what we're moving into. I feel like it's all possibility and just us writing what we want in the stars. And we just need to trust that we know what to do and follow our own hearts. I think most of all, that's where that wisdom lies, is within our
Mm.
hearts. So
Yep. Yep. And if we don't know, take a chance and
yep,
feel into it. Be brave.
pull one of those cups down and try it on for size and see what it's like. And if you don't like it, put it back up there and pick a new one.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Spin that wheel again.
Hmm.
It's, yeah, super, super powerful.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing this for us. So happy that you were willing to do it for the group and for the podcast and community and collective. And I love and think so highly of all the tarot work you do. And we'll make sure you share Crystal Oro Tarot and your work that you do there So that way, if people want to learn more about tarot or potentially do work with Natalie, they will find you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will be offering 2026 readings. If you'd like to book
Yeah.
in, you can contact me at crystalauratarot.com and book a reading with me. I'll be offering those through the month of January.
Yes. Do it. People, do it. If you felt this was powerful, thinking about it from a collective, being able to spend time with Natalie one-on-one to think about and reflect on what last year was, or maybe the last couple of years were for you, but then what is the energy that you're personally going to be carrying forward? And like she said, get more specific perspective for maybe even really practical ways to move through and maybe even gain some of that wisdom or get some of that wisdom from Natalie. Like, it is an awesome way to spend some time setting yourself up for success in the next year. So highly, highly recommend doing that. And we'll also share pictures of the cards too, right? In the episode. I don't even know how all that works, but Natalie does. So
I'll put them on Instagram because we can't really put
okay.
them up on
Yes.
the episode page, I
Yeah,
don't think.
that
I'll
makes
do
sense.
my best to put them up there. There might be
Yeah.
a little hack I can do, but yeah, otherwise they'll be up on Instagram.
And you use the what's the deck that you use? We didn't say that, but
It's
what is
the
it?
Rider-Waite-Smith deck, but it's
Yes.
a bit of an artistic interpretation. It's very close to the original artwork. My
Okay.
specific deck is called Aquarius Tarot by Dawn Aquarius.
Oh, okay. Cool.
It's a bit psychedelic vibes.
It is psychedelic, hence the mushroom. That's why I think that card is so I still think it's a mushroom.
Yeah, totally.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much to Natalie. I'm so grateful. Thank you,
You're so
everyone,
welcome.
for listening and hopefully receiving this in just a very loving, open way. Because, hopefully that came across that this is powerful messaging, but at the same time, really hopeful. And we're all creators of our own reality. So take this information and whatever empowers you. And then for whatever doesn't, then leave it and move on. So thank you for listening. And we'll see you in the next episode soon. And Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your precious day to listen to our podcast. If this episode resonated with you, we would love for you to share it with someone you love. That would mean the world to us. Also, if you feel called, please follow our show so you will know when a new episode drops. If you want to go one step further, you can even rate this episode as it allows our podcast to find its way to others. Lastly, we've done our best to share resources that you might find helpful in the show notes, whether that's a book recommendation or a website we referenced during the episode, a free resource, or more information on a guest who took their time to speak with us and share their knowledge. We would love for you to support their work too. You can find more information on our podcast website at becomingspiritual.me. We love you and can't wait for you to hear the next episode. Until then, know you have a place where you are welcome and you are loved. Welcome home.